These protesters are determined to block Trump's campaign. They feel that they can cause chaos and get away with it. However, some bikers suddenly appear and do the unthinkable. Donald Trump's rally in a packed Chicago arena was underway when chaos erupted. Protesters, having breached security, stormed the venue, clashing violently with Trump supporters. The arena was filled with shouts and commotion as the two sides battled, creating a scene of chaos. Amid the pandemonium, the Trump campaign quickly decided to cancel the event. Over the loudspeaker, a campaign official urged everyone to leave the arena in peace, trying to defuse the situation and prevent further violence. The crowd, still buzzing with tension, was instructed to exit calmly as security scrambled to manage the situation. Outside, the conflict continued to escalate, with both protesters and supporters remaining in high spirits. The atmosphere was charged with frustration and anger as the rally abruptly ended. This had been happening frequently, and many people were beginning to shy away from the rallies, fearing for their safety. Little did anyone know that something was brewing that would save the rest of Trump's campaigns. A few miles away in Edgetown, Florida, Chris Cox sat in a dimly lit bar with his biker gang. The air was filled with the low hum of conversation and the clinking of glasses as they enjoyed their evening. A TV mounted on the wall flickered with breaking news. The headline read, "Protesters clash with Trump supporters in Chicago Arena." Chris, the leader of a well-known local biker club, squinted at the screen as footage of the chaotic scene played out. The image of protesters and supporters fighting inside the arena caught his attention. He could see the disorder and the potential for the situation to escalate further. The bar fell silent as everyone turned to watch the news. Chris leaned forward, his expression shifting from casual interest to serious concern. He knew that such violence and unrest could lead to even more severe consequences if left unchecked. The sight of the clash made him think of the possible repercussions for both sides, as well as the broader community. Turning to his gang, Chris said, "This is getting out of hand. We've got to do something before it gets worse." The members of his gang, who had seen him take action in tough situations before, nodded in agreement. They were a group known for stepping up when their community needed them. With a determined look, Chris and his gang began discussing their options. They decided that a show of force might be necessary to restore order and prevent further violence. The bikers prepared to mobilize, knowing that their presence could help de-escalate the situation and protect those involved. Chris Cox decided that his 30,000-member organization, Bikers for Trump, would shift its role dramatically. No longer would they merely be a group organizing rallies in support of the Republican frontrunner. Instead, they would evolve into a volunteer security force. Their new mission was to actively protect Trump's events from disruptions. The bikers would now patrol his rallies, working alongside paid security and police to spot and handle protesters. Their job would include forming physical barriers to shield Trump's supporters from any potential violence. Additionally, they would act as a backup to law enforcement, assisting in removing any unwanted attendees who disrupted the campaign events. This shift in their role meant that the bikers were prepared to take a more active, hands-on approach to ensure the safety and smooth operation of the rallies. Chris and his gang saw this as a crucial step to maintain order and prevent further incidents like the one that had occurred in Chicago. However, Chris's decision to throw the full weight of Bikers for Trump behind the president he admired came with its own set of challenges. One afternoon, as he and his team were preparing to follow the campaign trail to the next rally, they were hit with unexpected news. A call came in from the group's treasurer, who looked worried as he shared the details. "Chris, we've got a problem," the treasurer said, his voice heavy with concern. "Our funds are running dangerously low. Between the costs of travel, accommodations, and all the new gear we've been buying to prepare for these events, we're burning through our budget faster than we expected." Chris felt a knot form in his stomach. The group had always relied on donations and out-of-pocket expenses from members, but the new role they had taken on required far more resources than they had anticipated. The sheer scale of following the campaign, protecting events, and ensuring the safety of attendees was proving to be financially overwhelming. As the treasurer laid out the numbers, it became clear that continuing at this pace might not be sustainable. The expenses were mounting. Fuel costs for the long rides between cities, the maintenance of their bikes, and even basic necessities like food and lodging were all adding up. The group had also invested heavily in new equipment, such as communication devices and protective gear, to better coordinate their efforts during rallies. The financial strain was starting to take its toll on the group's morale. Some members were worried about how much longer they could keep up their support without going into personal debt. Chris could see the concern on their faces as they prepared for the next rally. They were all committed to the cause, but unsure how they would manage to keep going. However, Chris Cox was not just the leader of bikers for Trump. He was also a skilled chainsaw woodcarving artist. When the financial challenges for his group became too great to ignore, Chris knew that he had to take matters into his own hands. Determined to keep his team on the road and support the campaign, he decided to put his artistic talents to work. He went out to a nearby wooded area, selected a few sturdy trees, and got to work with his chainsaw. With precision and creativity, Chris began carving the trees into impressive sculptures. The sounds of the chainsaw echoed through the forest as he meticulously shaped the wood into detailed eagles, patriotic symbols, and other designs that he knew would resonate with passersby. As the sculptures took shape, Chris's dedication and skill became clear. Each piece he created was a testament to his craftsmanship and his commitment to the cause. When he finished, the sculptures were not only beautiful, but also carried a strong message of patriotism and support for the president he admired. Chris then set up a roadside stand, displaying the sculptures where motorists could easily see them as they drove by. The intricately carved pieces quickly caught the attention of travelers. Before long, Chris was making sales, and the money started coming in. The sculptures were selling faster than he had expected. The funds he earned from his carvings were exactly what his gang needed to continue their mission. This unexpected solution brought in good money for his gang, easing the financial burden they had been facing. The success of his sculptures not only provided the necessary funds, but also reinforced Chris's belief that with determination and creativity, they could overcome any challenge that came their way. However, not everyone supported Chris and his biker gang. Soon, rumors began spreading about them, suggesting that the gang was acting solely for profit and not truly supporting the president. Chris's biker gang became the subject of controversy, with many alleging that there was an ulterior motive behind their volunteer security service. Chris tried to dispel the rumors, but to no avail. Soon enough, the protesters began acting out even more in response to the bikers' presence. The rumors gave the protesters and other troublemakers an easy way to cause chaos at future rallies. It was clear to Chris that they would try to use this situation to their advantage, spreading lies and misinformation to make themselves look like the good guys. This would help them gain more support and continue pushing their harmful agenda. Chris was deeply worried. He feared that if the protesters kept gaining ground, they might succeed in disrupting more rallies, making it harder for Trump's campaign to continue. Even worse, Chris was concerned that this could lead to the downfall of his biker gang. The group he had worked so hard to build and keep together could be torn apart if they couldn't stop the protesters from winning. On the day of the Republican National Convention, Cleveland was buzzing with excitement and tension. Chris knew this event was crucial for Trump's campaign, and any disruption could be a big problem. The bikers geared up. Chris felt a heavy responsibility on his shoulders, but he was determined to do his best. He had spent hours planning with Trump's security team and the local police to ensure everything would be safe. The bikers were split into groups and stationed around the convention center, ready to form what they called a meat wall. Their job was to create a buffer zone of unarmed bodies between the protesters and Trump supporters, making sure things didn't get out of hand. As the time for Trump's speech drew closer, more people filled the streets around the convention center. The protesters' chants grew louder, and their numbers increased. The bikers took their positions, forming a human barrier at the entrance, signaling they wouldn't allow anyone to disrupt the event. Inside, the crowd was excited but tense, waiting for Trump to arrive. Chris and his team stayed in contact with the police, ready to act if needed. When Trump finally took the stage, the crowd erupted in cheers, but outside, the protests intensified. The bikers held firm, helping to maintain control. Just as the event seemed to be winding down, a sudden commotion broke out near one of the entrances. A protester had somehow slipped past the initial barriers and was making a beeline toward the stage, where Trump was still speaking. He wasn't alone. 5 others were behind him, urging him forward. The man held something in his hand, causing panic among the crowd. Chris's heart raced as he spotted the intruder. Without hesitation, he signaled to the bikers closest to the stage, directing them to intercept the armed protester. In a jaw-dropping moment, the bikers swiftly formed a tight line, blocking the protester's path. This surprising scene was captured by a reporter. Sensing something was wrong, the protester tried to push through, but the tension in the room skyrocketed as people shouted, unsure of what was happening. Chris and his bikers stood their ground, trying to subdue the protester without causing a full-blown panic. Just as the man raised his hand, one of the bikers tackled him to the ground. The object in his hand turned out to be a smoke bomb, something that could have caused chaos if it had gone off. The protester's face went pale as several burly bikers held him down. As soon as the other protesters saw this, they disappeared into the crowd. They might not have feared the police, but they clearly feared the bikers. Trump's security team quickly escorted him off the stage as the police took the protester with the smoke bomb into custody. The situation was brought under control, but the near miss left everyone shaken. As the dust settled, Chris realized how close they had come to disaster. The incident served as a stark reminder of the dangers they faced and the importance of staying vigilant. A few months later, Chris's hard work was rewarded when his candidate became president. His determination and perseverance during those challenging times had paid off in a way he never could have imagined. After weeks of carving wood by day and leading his gang by night, Chris was finally ready to relax. It had been a long and stressful day at a rally filled with tense moments and hard-earned victories. That evening, he settled into his worn-out armchair, hoping for a peaceful, uneventful night. He had just started to unwind when his phone rang, breaking the stillness of the room. Without thinking much of it, Chris grabbed the phone, assuming it was one of his bikers calling with a routine update or a minor issue that needed handling. But as he brought the phone to his ear, he immediately recognized the voice on the other end. "Mr. Cox, it's Donald Trump's secretary." Chris's heart skipped a beat as the words sank in. He straightened up, the fatigue of the day momentarily forgotten. The personal secretary of the man he had worked tirelessly to help elect was on the line. She explained that Trump had been following Chris's efforts closely and had seen his steadfast commitment. She expressed deep appreciation for the work Chris and his bikers had done to protect his rallies. She acknowledged the risks they had taken and the sacrifices they had made to ensure peace and safety at each event. Trump had also heard about Chris's wood carvings and how he had turned his personal talents into a lifeline for his organization. For Chris, the moment felt surreal. The man he admired and supported was now expressing gratitude for his efforts. Though it wasn't Trump himself on the line, hearing from his personal secretary was as close as anyone could get to the president these days. As she continued speaking, Chris felt a profound sense of validation. All the long hours, financial struggles, and physical exhaustion faded away, replaced by a deep sense of pride and fulfillment. Trump's words, relayed through his secretary, gave Chris the encouragement he needed to keep pushing forward. His hard work had not only been noticed but appreciated at the highest level. People across the country were talking about them, and donations were pouring in through their GoFundMe page, showing just how much support they had garnered. Gone were the days when Chris had to worry about finances. The success of their efforts had brought in more than enough funds to keep the gang going strong. But Chris wasn't ready to relax just yet. He was determined to see that the president was sworn in without any issues, and he knew the real battle was just beginning. With his biker gang by his side, Chris was confident they could handle whatever challenges came their way. He worked tirelessly to protect the candidate he was loyal to. Do you think Chris was right to take on this role? Or do you believe people acting as vigilantes do more harm than good? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.